Okay, for this chapter, we're doing chapter 7, part 2, how societies manage social economic diversity, which means the income gap and how we manage the poor and the rich. So, one good that everybody needs to have, be it rich or poor, is healthcare. And basically, if you're poor, you'll suffer from not being able to afford healthcare. Whereas you're rich, you will be able to afford the different kinds of healthcare out there. So basically, we have three different approaches that governments have decided to be able to work for the good of society and to provide healthcare. First one is the market-based approach, second is the shared responsibility, and third is the government financed healthcare. You need to know the definitions for each of them here. Market-based is when the citizens are free to decide what kind of healthcare or what kind of insurance they want. And so the government limits its intervention and allow the market to determine how much the healthcare should be provided and what cost it should take. Shared responsibility is the balance between government, the free market system, and the citizen's choice in deciding the type of insurance. So basically what it means is that some of the amount of money that needs to be paid is paid by the government, the other part is paid by the citizens, and voluntary organizations also play a part to help those in the lower income group. Of course, the last system is called the government financed healthcare, whereby the government actually provides large subsidies for healthcare. Some cases it is even free for citizens. Many of these facilities are government run and government funds it from the taxes that they receive. So the three different countries that we look at is USA, Singapore, and Sweden. So know that the different systems operate differently, whereby the US government actually allows the public sector, the private sector, I beg your pardon, the private sector to determine the price. And the price is determined by the patient and the healthcare giver agreeing to that price. Now, because of this, prices vary differently for the same type of treatment. For example, there is a 17-time difference between the most expensive knee replacement surgery to the least expensive treatment. Now, this does not mean that the poor are totally left out. In the US system, the government still does medical insurance plans for the elderly and the poor in the case of Medicare and Medicaid. And according to the textbook, this says that it also has this Affordable Care Act, or also known as Obamacare, which provides medical health insurance coverage for people who do not qualify for Medicare and Medicaid. Now, the challenge of this free market system, market-based system, is when the low SES group cannot pay for their insurance because it's too expensive for them. And when you pay for insurance, you're paying for premiums, meaning to say the amount that you need to pay per month or per year. Usually, if you work in a big company in USA, they provide medical insurance as part of your employment benefits. But if you work for a small company or if you work part-time, you might not be provided medical insurance. At times, insurance companies are also unwilling to insure low-income people or people with past sickness because they are most likely to be going to fall sick. So because of that, either they are not insured or their insurance premiums are too expensive and they are unable to afford. So that's the problem with the market-based healthcare like USA. In a shared responsibility system like Singapore, we believe that individuals need to be reliant on themselves, meaning to say they save for their own healthcare through MediSave. Government subsidies also come in as an important role, and community healthcare services like the voluntary welfare organizations work together to provide an integrated healthcare approach. Now, healthcare is kept affordable by having a multi-tier protection. Firstly, government subsidizes basic healthcare. There's MediSave, which the citizens save money to pay for their healthcare needs. There's MediShield Life, which is government enforced insurance. Okay, and the last one is MediFund, which actually covers for people who are poor and need to draw out money from the MediFund. There are also other schemes to help the lower income, which is the Pioneer Generation Package or the Pioneer Generation Card, and now there's this MediShield Life, as we mentioned before, a health insurance that covers every Singaporean from cradle to grave. Now, the challenge is still there that people are now living longer and their related illnesses are also becoming more. Also, as we become an aging population, our age dependency ratio falls, which means uh, that higher taxes are needed for working adults because um, they need to support more elderly in the country. Also, the lower income Singaporeans are concerned that if they lose their jobs, they might not be able to afford medical fees because they no longer have any MediSave savings. So because of that, there is an issue with government shared responsibility approach because it means that when someone stops working, he does not have MediSave. When there's no MediSave, he might face healthcare problems in the future. There's also this concern that there's a growing need for healthcare because of all these things. Let's look at Sweden's government financed healthcare. Basically, it means that there's universal healthcare coverage. Funding is mainly by the government and funded by the government, but they collect taxes as high as 30% from citizens. And it is equity-based healthcare, which means that everyone is allowed to have free healthcare on equal terms, or rather affordable healthcare on equal terms. Now, in the Swedish system, it's largely owned and paid by the government. Imagine this, that a Swede only needs to pay a maximum of 900 krona per year, no matter what kind of healthcare they need to get. That is really affordable for a Swedish national. The downside is that taxes can go as high as 56% of a person's salary, and there's a high goods and services tax. In this case here, they call it the value-added tax. The same issue happens with the aging population, and there is also growing need for healthcare. But the additional problem is that immigrants come in and they enjoy the subsidized rates, and that causes a strain on the healthcare system. And so there are also issues with the system. Now you must be wondering, why are we studying this whole big framework about healthcare? It's because all your life you'll be depending on the government to help you to tide through difficult moments when you fall sick, when you're old, or when you are having a terminal disease. And healthcare is a basic need that all social classes need to pay, be it you are poor, rich, or middle income. As you can tell, different countries have decided to take different approaches for various reasons. For example, because of the market-based healthcare, the healthcare system is a lot more efficient because they know that they are competing for the patient's dollar. They want to give the best healthcare and they want to come up with new technologies to make the processes more efficient so that they can save more money or even gain more profits. That is the benefit of the market-based healthcare. The shared responsibility makes there lesser possibility of abuse because the patient or the citizen has to play a part in paying for the healthcare bill. With that, they will not uh, abuse the system and they will try to stay healthy. On the contrary, for the government finance system, there's often abuse because they know that the government is going to pay 100% for it. And sometimes waiting time can be very, very long. So that's that, Chapter 7, Part 2, Managing Socio-Economic Diversity. Please read the textbook because this is a quick summary, it's not enough.